It is the weekend show, and I am C.L. Bryant. Welcome to the C.L. Bryant Show on the weekend. Glad you could join us here. We are the gateway threshold of Saturday. Saturday, I guess Sunday's my favorite day of the week, but Saturday sure does run a very close second. Yeah. Tell you what, I want to welcome aboard all of our friends in southern Arkansas and, of course, our friends in East Texas. Throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, that is America. And to all of our friends up there in Wilmington, North Carolina, I want to thank you for bringing us into your area as well. I want to say hello to Bishop Utley and Miss Maxine up there in Wilmington, North Carolina, WLTT 1180, where we are broadcast there. And, of course, if you missed the show today, the first hour, you can tune in to our friend station, Promise, tomorrow morning. I think that's 8 o'clock. You can tune in there and hear it again the first hour of the show. Well, you knew, or you should have known, that something was wrong in the intelligence community when Hillary Clinton was busted trying to clean up her emails, and James Comey came out and basically indicted her over it, condemned her for it, and then cleared Hillary of all charges. And you should have known something was wrong when 2 weeks before the election, Comey found out that maybe there was still something that he needed to tell us and investigate about Hillary Clinton. And then about 24 to 48 hours later, there was nothing yet to be discovered. Should have known something was wrong. We should have known something was wrong when Hillary loses the election. And the best explanation that anybody has for her loss is that the Russians hacked into and messed up and bothered the election process in America. That has been proven to be false, but yet the progressive liberals still hold on to that narrative. They still want you to believe that that's what happened. Yesterday I talked about the wrecking ball. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more today. It's been a great week for the show. Started off this last week, Valentine's week and all of that Tuesday. Had a great time with you, comparing Valentine's and our love for our country to the type of love you should have for your spouse or your significant other or the person you're wanting to bring into your life at whatever point that may happen. And then on Wednesday, Jeff Landry was on with me. I think it was Monday. Jeff was on with me on the C.L. Bryant Show. Of course, I think he thought he was on the Moon Show. But, Jeff, I'm just messing with you. And so, but anyway, I'm going to go down there because a good friend of mine, John McNaughton, is going to be there unveiling a new portrait. You know, John McNaughton is America's artist. And I'm going to be down there at the unveiling of a new portrait that John has done there in Baton Rouge. Not sure if you're going to be in Baton Rouge or down in Lafayette. But just the same, he was able to sneak my image into this new portrait that he has done. Yeah, called for injustice for all, justice and justice for all. It is a signal honor, it is an incredible honor to be memorialized and immortalized in that way. John has already done that with the runaway slave portrait that he has done. That the original of that is available. It is for sale. the original runaway slave portrait is for sale, and I'd love to tell you how to get a hold of that. You can certainly help the show if we can get that one sold. It is one of a kind. There is none other like it in the world. And give us a call, and we'd be very happy to talk to you about it. Coming up in this show is Brad Avery of the Governmental School, River Government School of Government, the River School of Government there in Tampa, Florida, where my friend, pastor and teacher and evangelist extraordinaire Rodney Howard Brown is the pastor of the River Church there in Florida, Tampa, Florida. All nations are represented in this church. I cannot imagine a more diverse, culturally unique church in this country, teaching the principles and the doctrine to those who come of America, teaching them how to assimilate into this nation. Pastor Rodney Howard Brown himself is a citizen now of the United States, but he came to us from South Africa. He and I have had many a conversations about apartheid and the evils of that and what he was able to see as he was growing up and came to this country. Amazing how people from outside of the country come here and tell us over and over and over how they came here with $100, $200 in their pocket, some less than that. And now they experience the fruits of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, because they take advantage of the endowment that America offers to its legal citizens. Going to be back in just a minute. The CL.
I've been in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time.
Seems like everybody's laying low these days, but a lot of people are not giving credit where credit is due. There's something that you will notice that's going on that is the height of hypocrisy in this country, and it is stemming from what we have known and what we have been calling feminism. Now, folks, you know, anyone who's listened to the show, anyone who knows anything about me, I have 3 daughters, one granddaughter that I raised, and I have a son. All of the girls except for the granddaughter is older than my son. So I had a great opportunity and privilege to raise 3 daughters, 3 women into women. And I have great respect for women and their achievements. My wife is a woman of great character and strength. And she, of course, is someone who I greatly admire as well. One of the things that really ruffles my feathers is to think that a woman cannot be as effective in a job, and a woman should not be paid for a job as well as any counterpart. And that has to be a man, of course. You know, it has to be a man. Any counterpart of a woman is a man. Okay. The true, just to go scriptural on you for a minute, the reason she is a woman is that she is a wombed man. A wombed man, a woman. Now, And again, I guess I'm on this rabbit trail, so I might as well just go down it for just a little bit further. That's exactly why you have to have the different genders, because only a wombed man can produce babies. A wombed man. Yeah. You can't be a woman if you don't have a womb. Hey, you take it for whatever it's worth, but it's true. Anyway, back to my point. The feminists are doing everything they can, and it's hypocrisy. It's the height of hypocrisy. They're doing everything they possibly can to tear down a woman who is successful. Now, yes, Ivanka Trump has had help in becoming successful, but folks, I don't care what kind of help you get. If you are not of the mind to work, you cannot achieve the kind of success that Ivanka Trump has achieved. Case in point, I point to Paris Hilton. You see, Paris Hilton is famous for being a Hilton, for being Paris Hilton. But there is nothing that she has built outside of what her fathers and foreparents left for her. Conrad set him up pretty good. And somebody may say, well, the same thing happened with Ivanka. But no, what Ivanka has done is expanded upon the opportunity that she was given by Fred and her father Donald. Because she's not lazy, and she works, and she invests her time in helping women who are less privileged financially than she is and was, to become what they can be, to experience the best of what they can be. And there are countless stories of how Ivanka Trump has been a benefit to those who were less fortunate and have shown them the way to become fortunate. She, before she became the first daughter, or at least one of the first daughters of our nation, was a darling in New York City. But now she is suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune and the slings and arrows of being on the wrong side of political correctness. And those slings and arrows are coming from feminists. Yes, they are. And it's hypocritical. Her brand in places like Nordstrom's, her brand in places like Neiman Marcus, Macy's, is under attack because people are victims of political correctness who work there, who have said, we don't want to work in a place where there's the name or brand Trump. How stupid is that? You don't want to work in a place that can actually attract money to your place of business because of political correctness? What alternate universe are we living in where a name that has historically, over the last 40 years, meant fortune, meant possibilities, and now, after the last 6 weeks, political correctness dictates to America that this is no longer a brand that we should hook our wagons to? What brand should we do? Should we attach our wagons to the feminist brand? And don't get me wrong, the reason I was setting it up earlier with the fact that I have always supported women and their ability to achieve. And man, let me tell you something. Whatever it is that you have achieved, if you had a mother, and I'm betting that you did, I think you better thank her first. That's why Mother's Day is the biggest day there is. Ivanka Trump is mother, businesswoman, and successful extraordinaire. Yet she's being attacked in ways that we would have never thought she would be. And I'm sure she never thought she would be. Going to talk about Kellyanne Conway just a little bit. When I return, talk about hypocrisy. I'll show you. I'm CL.
When you wake up in the morning and the light has hurt your head, the first thing you do when you get up out of bed is hit that streets a running and try.
Yeah. Finally found him, Jay. Finally found my old blue jeans. I was talking about the hypocrisy that goes along with this modern day political correctness. It will drive each and every one of us slap crazy if we don't rein it in. And I am telling you, it is time to rein it in. It's time to rein it in. I was telling you that Ivanka Trump is one of those women who can fry up the bacon and, bring home the bacon, fry it up, and all of that, and give you the shivering fits, all that kind of stuff, too. Yeah. Quintessential American woman. Sarah Palin was one of those. Jane, my wife, is one of those. She can do all of that stuff. If I need her, if I have shot the buffalo and I don't have time to hang around and skin it, an American woman can do that. Rip off a piece of it and have it frying in the pan when you get back with the elk that you go out and shoot. Bring it home. And if for some reason you break your leg and you can't do it, an American woman is the kind of woman who can go out and get that done for you. That's the image that you see when you look at an Ivanka Trump. When you look at a Kellyanne Conway, who, by the way, does not get her props. Have you heard anybody tell you, has any of the news media really given her the props that she deserves? Let me tell you what kind of props Kellyanne Conway deserves. I mean, I've met her on several occasions, trying my best to get her on this show. But there are so many different directions that all of them have to go in these days that's difficult. Are you aware? You probably never heard this before. You should be aware of it because it happened right before your eyes. You know, Kellyanne Conway is the first winning female presidential campaign manager in the history of the country. Yeah. It was Kellyanne Conway who directed the Donald Trump campaign. A woman, a mother, a hard worker, Do you hear any of the feminists saying anything about Kellyanne? Do you hear them singing her praises and holding her up as an example to young women of what the possibilities could be and can be? No, you do not. Why is that? Why is that? I can see him, even if Whoopi Goldberg had been the first successful campaign manager of in America, of a presidential campaign in America, I think they'd have Whoopi would be canonized. You know, it's true. We just talked about Paris Hilton. If Paris Hilton had done the same thing, Lady Gaga, you name them, you name them, they would be held up as Mother Teresa. But not Kellyanne. Not Kellyanne Conway. In fact, they're doing everything they can to vilify her. I don't understand it. Oh, yes, I do understand it. Yes, I do. It is that thing called political correctness, and with it, they are trying to beat us over the head and use it in ways that will, let's just say, modify the thinking toward conservatives, and particularly conservative women. They are daring women, daring them to go down the road that Kellyanne Conway has traveled. They dare them to go down the road that Sarah Palin traveled. And by punishment's sake, and by way of punishment, rather, they dare any successful woman to even think about saying that she would back up or be behind Donald Trump, because they're making an example out of his beloved daughter. There's no question that Ivanka's his favorite. It's easy to see. Just another way of trying to put the needle to the president of the United States. You know what? I tweeted this out a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week. Harry Truman had a daughter. Her name was Margaret, who could play the piano, but maybe she didn't have the best voice in the world. But you certainly didn't want to be an editor of a newspaper and write the critique on Margaret Truman's singing. You Google Harry Truman's reaction to critics of his daughter, Margaret. You'll find out that whatever Trump has said in defense of his family is mild compared to the all-out threats that Harry Truman gave to the critics of Margaret Truman. I'm talking about, you hear me say, whip their behinds often on this radio show. Harry Truman, then President of the United States, told a critic in particular exactly what he would do to him if he ever said anything like that about his daughter again. America still needs you, Harry Truman. I think we may have a semblance of him in the White House right now. America still needs that man who stands up and actually stands in the way of people who now frown on political correctness. Daughters still need fathers who they know will come to their defense. Yes, they do. It wouldn't be so much rap songs that are laden with the words B and W's if you had fathers who were still standing up for their daughters like Harry Truman. Now, once they're grown, ain't much you can do. They have to make their own decisions. Once they leave your house, they make their own decisions. But let me tell you something. While that little girl is growing up in your house, you need to find out. Go Google it. Harry Truman defends his daughter, Margaret, against her critics. Check it out. I'm C.L. Bryant. Be back with Brad Avery of the River School of Government when I return. CL back with you here on the weekend show. And yes, I was telling you about the hypocrisy that's going on with Ivanka, Kellyanne Conway, both accomplished women. Same thing happened with Sarah Palin and others. On the line with me now is Brad Avery, good friend there at the River Church in Tampa, Florida. The great pastor Rodney Howard Brown is the overseer of God's flock there, and Brad is an instructor at the River School of Government. Brad, welcome back to the C.L. Bryant Show.
Well, CL, so good to hear your voice and talk to you. Thank you so much for letting me come on your show.
Always good to talk to you, Brad. Always good to talk to you. Listen, I want to talk to you right quick. I want to get into this conversation with you. Don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to get as much out of you as I possibly can. We sent a wrecking ball to Washington, D.C., didn't we? And then let me ask you this. Why then are we so upset that the wrecking ball is wrecking stuff up? I mean, it seems as though they don't appreciate the wrecking ball that we elected. That's what we wanted, wasn't it? Is that not what we wanted?
That's what we want. But like they say, the change, people think that hurts, and so they're not used to it. But, he's doing everything that he campaigned on, what he promised. We're seeing the fruits of it. And I know that some people are out there, they're wincing at some of the blows that are happening. But, it's like when you take a piece of clay, you got to beat it up a little bit to make it look pretty, at the end. And that's exactly what we're going to see here. And when he's done taking care of what needs to be done, because he's not bought and sold by any other, political party or even some bigger backing. But we know that when he's done, people are going to look and say, he did what he said he was going to do. He didn't lie to us, first of all. And now we're seeing what he has constructed for us.
Absolutely right, Brad. And, the one thing that I am definitely concerned about, though, is that those leftover people from other administrations are there, I really feel, to try and bring him down. Obama's about to come back. Well, he's actually back in Washington, D.C. Do you see a culture that is brewing, that is forming, that is going to continue to give this president the blues, Brad? How do you see that shaking out?
Yeah, it's really coming, and it's a shame because what we've done is we've really distorted the way society really works, and now it's become more of an operation instead of it actually being, governed by the people. Now we have the minority trying to change the way that everything from our schools all the way to the way we look and see how our government is to be run. And if we're going to allow, I can't say we're going to allow, but if they continue to allow the Soros-type backed wicked agenda keep working behind as like a shadow government, we're going to see more things happen. Now, we know that it'll be exposed. We know that because we're praying, we're believing the Lord that the enemy is going to be exposed, and that those that are behind the scenes trying to bring manipulation and stop, what God we feel is doing in our government, because this is our last stay of execution.
Yeah.
I really believe that we're going to see some more things happen, but I do believe this. The media will turn on itself, and I believe that they will expose some of the things that are going on behind the scenes.
I certainly hope that that is true, because you used a term that is definitely so, and that is shadow government.
Yep.
And the media, so far, the media has been complicit in that shadow government, especially CNN. And what bothers me, Brad, is that there very well may be Republicans. There may be very well people who are in the Republican camp who are a part of that shadow government. Is that possible?
Oh, absolutely. And, just so the viewers do understand, we're not talking about some, Dr. Evil sitting behind the scenes, even though sometimes think that George Soros is that type of, fits that character. But, in all reality, what it is that it is a group that is basically, they've got a lot of that Stalinsky type background. They have, their own agenda that they're trying to push, and that is a new world order. And they're constructing people behind the scenes. There's probably a lot of payoffs going on. There's been a lot of promises, manipulation going on in people's lives. There could be some coercion. There could be some forcing. Who knows what's going on? But when those people are in power that have not been uprooted, and they're still sitting in high positions in government, if they're going to be there and they're going to put up barriers and they're going to keep this Trump administration from doing what needs to be done, then basically all they're doing is acting as a shadow government. So, you don't want anybody to freak out and think that, we're going to see laser beams coming out of space. It is a group that is they're dead set on trying to bring their own agenda into the way our government runs.
There won't be any giant lasers changing the weather or anything of that nature as far as it's concerned. Now, Brad, you teach there at the River School of Government.
River School of Government.
River School of Government. Give us the website right quick, Brad.
It is www.riverschoolofgovernment.com.
Now, when we let's talk for a minute about the type of things that you teach there at the River School of Government. And in talking about that, let's talk about assimilation, because one thing I know about your congregation, the congregation there at the River Church, is that you have various flags of various nations from across the world that are displayed there at the church. In fact, you all have people from various nations who are members of your church. And I know this to be absolutely true, is that you teach them how to be good Americans. Brad, when we talk about assimilation, tell our audience what that means to you as far as a person coming to this nation and needing to assimilate.
Well, that we could, that alone could take about 2 hours, but let's just see if we could do the Cliff Notes version. Cliff Notes version is this: Americans today that have been, born and raised here have become very complacent and very lazy, for lack of a better word to say. But when we see others that come from other countries, let's say we have those who come from Ghana, South Africa, Australia, wherever they may be, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, when they read the Constitution, when they understand exactly what the American struggle was, And the struggle was not a black-white thing. It wasn't a yellow thing. It was a people struggle. And when they understand what we went through to get to this point from the last 250 years, they understand that this is an ideology. Being an American means that you have, it's a kind of like a nationalism versus an independence type structure. But they need to understand we fought for one of the greatest nations in the world, and it was men and women of different nations, different ideologies, but they different backgrounds, but they came under one ideology, and that is that people have rights and we have freedoms. So when we see others come from overseas and they come here, they get on fire, and they're like, wow, we want to stand up for the Constitution. We want to stand up for the independence and what the people fought for, what our brothers and sisters and our aunts and cousins, from way back, what they really struggled for. And, like, for instance, we have a gentleman from Ghana. He's in the...
Hold that thought right there. I don't want to step on this thought that you're about to enter into, Brad.
Gotcha.
After the break, we're going to be back with Brad Avery, River School of Government, there in Tampa, Florida, at the River Church, where my good friend, Dr. Pastor Rodney Howard-Browne, is the overseer of the Lord's flock there in Tampa, Florida. We're talking to Brad Avery, instructor at the River School of Government. I'm CL. We'll be back in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
I knew a man.
CL back with Brad Avery, River School of Government, Tampa, Florida. We were talking about assimilating here into this nation and how so many times we as Americans misunderstand or don't understand what that means, or people coming from outside of the country who are wanting to become citizens. They are not knowing what that means, but Brad teaches people the meaning of that, and he was about to share with us a story of a gentleman from Ghana. Brad, continue.
Okay, the gentleman from Ghana, he is, let's just say he's tied into government over there. Well, now that he's over here, he's kind of understanding how our form of government, because we teach everything from how to run for office all the way to what it'd be like to be sitting in Congress. So we cover the myriad of everything. And as he looks back at what he's been going through, he sees a country that is trying to be run by a dictator. No one has rights. And then, of course, you have women that are oppressed. And he said when he sees, and his response to me was, when I see women march over here, and they don't know really what they're marching for. Are they marching to put a hijab back on, or are they trying to march for losing more rights, or they think they're gaining more rights? He says they really lose a lot of part of their freedoms that they really enjoy here. So it's just interesting when you hear those that are from other countries come here and they talk about how we have such a phenomenal style of government, and they don't realize what people give up when we allow government to take more away from us.
That is amazing that from the mouths of those who come from other countries, they are able to show us exactly what it is we stand to lose, folks. Because, Brad, what he's telling us, too, is that what we have here is not even possible in Ghana, not even possible in Eastern Europe, or even South Africa, for that matter, where Pastor Howard-Browne comes from. So that's what he's telling Americans, that what we have is not even possible. Why is it we can't see that?
Exactly. And, like this one gentleman said, He said, if we would take the people and really put them in another government-type style, let them see what really goes on, they would come running back to the United States and they wouldn't march. They wouldn't scream out about the things that they have. They'd be very thankful for what we have.
And I certainly would hope that some of those who are screaming and yelling and causing all the hoopla could be scooped up, Brad, and dropped into Ghana. Could be dropped.
Right.
I wonder. I'd just love to see that happen. Now, if now the you show them what it's like to be in Congress, once they become citizens of the United States, and enlighten our audience as to what that is. They're now being foreign born, they may not be able to become president of the United States, but a foreign born person can become a representative of the country, of their state.
Exactly.
Can't they? Yeah.
We have two new students that are in the class that both of them have their doctorate degrees. They've only been here in the United States less than 20 years, but both of them are so on fire for what the ideology of what it's like to be an American, that one wants to run for Congress and the other person's run for a state representative job in this upcoming election cycle. So, people say, well, they may have different last names because it doesn't match a normal American last name. But yet, then again, when I tell people, sit with these two individuals, and when you hear their heart for the United States, you're like, wow, they have more passion to see something done here in the United States than those who have been born here. So I think that...
Go ahead, Brad.
I was going to say, I think that there's an awful lot of those that have come in the United States over the last couple of decades that once they, like you say, assimilate into the culture and they understand what it's like to be an American, then they get on board and they get driven and they want to keep the American ideology.
And those who have not assimilated, and more times than not, and folks, this is not to jump on and stomp down Muslims, but
right.
You have to understand that more times than not, those who come here from Muslim countries in the last 2-3 years, 8 years in particular, they are not willing to assimilate. Those who are coming across the border illegally, and that, I have a feeling, has a lot to contribute to why they don't assimilate, is because they're here
Exactly.
illegally. Those
Exactly.
that are there in your school are there legally and wanting to become legal. Is that right?
Absolutely. They go through the whole process, and, I know some people say it takes 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, but they stay here. They go through the process, but they have the passion or drive to become like an American. Those that sneak in, it's like the enemy. When they sneak in, they're not up to any good.
Absolutely right, Brad Avery. Give us the website one more time, because we will leave it on that note right there. If
Absolutely.
They sneak in, when you sneak into anywhere, you're not up to any good, folks. Remember that. Brad, give us the website.
River School of Government, www.com. www.riverschoolofgovernment.com. Tampa Bay. We do inductions in January and in August, and we're raising up leaders for this next generation.
River School of Government is raising up leaders for this next generation. Please tell my good friend, Pastor Rodney Howard Brown, that I said hello, Brad, and God bless and keep you all there in Tampa. Hope to see you soon. Talk to you soon.
Sir.
All right.
Bless you, my friend.
Bye now. I'm CL, and this is the CL Bryant Show. And let me reiterate something that Brad was saying that we really need to grab. And it makes perfect sense. And this is what the liberals ought to take into consideration. And I'll go all the way back to my teen years when we had drive-in movie theaters here in my hometown. They may have had them in your hometown too. And even though we were doing it in fun, it still was not, we still weren't up to any good. Because when you was sneaking people into the drive-in, it was really, you were stealing. Yeah, you were stealing from the people who ran the place, because you were taking money out of their pockets. Yeah, you were. You were taking money out of their pockets. You were stealing from them. That's the same way you should look at this when we're talking about illegals coming in this country. They're sneaking in. They're sneaking in illegally, and whenever anyone sneaks into some place, as in the words of Brad Avery, you can bet they're up to no good. That's about as plain as you can put it. That's about as clear as you can see it. When you have to sneak into a person's country, same way if you're sneaking into their house, you sneak into their car, you're up to no good. Period. Period. You're up to no good. And so, my friends, what's necessary is to look now, since so much of this is lost, on those who have been here for 2 or 3 generations and even longer, who are in our colleges, not only looking for higher education, but teaching higher education. What we may have to look to are those who have come here legally and have fallen in love with the Constitution of the United States. I'm CL. We'll be right back.
Concerned about my happiness.
Word to the illegal alien lovers. Anyone who has to sneak into your country is up to no good. Word to the illegal alien lovers. Anyone who has to sneak into your country is up to no good. Yeah, remember that. Anyone who does not want to assimilate, man, I'm a poet today and don't know it. Anyone who does not want to assimilate should not be able to participate. Yeah, poet and didn't know it, but anyway. Yeah, anyone who does not want to assimilate should not be allowed to participate. And hey, that's C.L. Bryant Originals right there, although I got the other one from Brad Avery. Although I decided to put word there. Word to illegal alien lovers. That's all mine, actually. Brad just gave me the idea of anybody coming in to sneaking into somewhere. They must be up to no good. And isn't that the way we should think about that? Isn't that the way we should think about that? But we haven't been thinking about it that way. I'm going to make sure that we start thinking about it. And listen, why don't you start telling folks who say, well, they have a right to be here. Well, if they snuck in, if they're here illegally, if they overstayed their visa, that's no good. If they snuck across the border, I think that's a word, snuck. Snuck. Okay, Jay, is that a word? Snuck is a word. If they snuck, good to me. Okay, let's go with it. Let's roll with that. If you snuck across the border, then why did you do it? Could you not? That's why we have all of these illegal alien criminals here. Now, you remember the other day, it was Wednesday, when I reminded you of something of a California state senator who told us in no uncertain terms that if we started deporting illegals there in the state of California, half of his family would be deported because they're here illegally. But they have fake driver's license. They have fake green cards that allows them to work. They have fake driver's license that allow them to get insurance. They have it allows them to buy cars. It allows them to drive on the streets of America. It allows them to get voter registration cards. It allows them, with a fake green card, to go to work and work. And the fake news media that DJT, Donald J. Trump, President Donald J. Trump, is always talking about, the fake news media, they never talk about this. But they're here illegally. And even though, yes, they find normalcy in living their lives, the fact of the matter is still that they're here illegally. Does that hurt you? You better believe it does. Yes, it does. Somebody may ask the question, well, what does that hurt? It hurts you. There's money being taken out of this country. There are jobs that are being occupied. There are places in schools that are being occupied by those who are here illegally. There are funds, taxpayer dollars. You ask the question, why are places like California and New York bankrupt? It's because they have been sponsoring illegals, in by and large, in the most part, aside from those who are legally riding the taxpayer dole and receiving government handouts. But there are so many illegals who are doing the same things. In fact, there's so much of that money that's set aside for them to do that. California actually wants to become a sanctuary state. What does that mean? You know what? We ought to let them, because they're broke anyway. Take away the federal funding from California and let them raise the taxes on the Hollywood types that are there, and we'll see just how soon they'll start singing a different tune when it comes to illegal immigration. Now, I know that they're attached to their illegal maids and pool attendees and attendants and pool boys and pool men who come out and clean up their pools, clip their hedges in their yards. In fact, that's their main argument. If we deport them, who's going to do that? Who's going to do that kind of work? It'll get done. Oh, yeah, it'll get done. But it won't get done if we continue not to understand that those who are here illegally are not up to any good. And folks, those who are coming in here legally and falling in love with the United States Constitution, they are the ones, I believe, that will once again, as did at the very outset of our country, spark a new wave of patriotism. I believe that there is a new wave of patriotism that is just waiting below the surface to emerge. It may be the guy from Ghana or Eastern European bloc that leads the way for us to understand what it is we have as Americans. It may be them saying to us, can't you see what it is you have? Can't you understand what it is you are squandering as Americans? It is those people from those places who really get it, who really and truly get it when they hear an American president say, let's make America great again. It's those people who understand what he's saying. And it's patriots like you and me who need to help them. I'm CL. We're going to be back with more of the CL Bryant Show when I return.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
CL. Back with you on the weekend show. It is the weekend all across America, and I certainly hope that you are having a fantastic weekend here in America. Hope it's not raining where you are. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Hey, the climate change people, especially here in the South, it's going to be 80 degrees, nearly 80 degrees tomorrow on Saturday. And these climate change people, global warming people, they are having a field day right now. But we broke records of it being hot, and this is what you need to really pay attention to when you see records broken for heat at this time of the year. You have to look back on when that record was broken, because I heard just the other day, yeah, we broke a record for heat here. It was 82 degrees here in the city. And that record was has stood since 1932. Well, then that should take the wind out of the sail of anybody who's talking about global warming or climate change, because it was 85 degrees in February back in 1932. Think about it for a minute, folks. Think about it for just a minute. Of course, I wasn't around then, but some of you were. In 1932, most of us lived on the farm or in rural areas throughout the nation. Yeah, you still had New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, but even Los Angeles back in 1932 was pretty much a whistle stop. Certainly, Dallas was. Houston wasn't much more than that. Kansas City, whistle stop. Yeah. Portland, Oregon, seaport, rowdy fishermen. Most of America lived in rural areas, and the idea of carbon footprints being left by diesel engines pretty much non-existent. Yeah. There was a lot of cow flatulence going on, though, as it always has gone on throughout the history of mankind. In fact, there has been more cow and animal flatulence emitted into the atmosphere than all of the coal-fired plants that could possibly do. Could ever generate. Can't even compete. And I don't even know what it was like when the dinosaurs were here. They must have produced a lot too. I understand that even though a volcano, there's the argument that if it erupts, it emits as much into the air, waste into the air, as all the coal-fired plants could possibly do in the history of them. There's an argument over whether that's true or not, but I do know one volcano, when it erupts, it certainly does emit a lot of poisonous gases into the atmosphere. Doesn't hurt us, though. Somehow, the Creator, you remember him? God, the one that Jefferson said gave us this endowment. Somehow, I have a feeling in his omniscience, in his all-knowingness, he kind of figured we'd have the capability to mess up. And so, pardon me, and so I think he kind of figured in to putting together this creation, this world that we live in, and the canopy that's around it, you know, that invisible canopy that's around it, the atmosphere. I kind of think he took into account that we were smart enough to make the type of machines that we have made. And so, in my estimation, of course, this is just me. You can think about it any way you want. In my estimation, I'm not a science denier when I say that the Creator, if you believe that it was created, and I certainly do, can't look at a leaf or a blade of grass or even a sunset for that matter and not know that there is a grand artist who does his thing and has set it in motion every day for us to see the beginning and the end of his work every day. It's new every morning. It's fresh every morning. Great is his faithfulness. But I would have to be out of my mind to think that the Creator, who's able to do that every day since the dawn of time, didn't know that I and you would have the capability of messing up, because he created us too. And so the hot weather that we happen to be experiencing now, you can mark my word. If you can't take my word for it, there's a fellow by the name of Solomon that said it. There is nothing new under the sun. There is nothing new under the sun. It's all happened before. If it was hot in December or January or February, if it broke records this year, believe me, there have been years that we don't even know about that it was hotter. Before we were recording it, it was hotter. While they were still hewing rocks for wheels out of stone, there's nothing new under the sun. It was hotter. You can smooth believe that. And when you want to put all of this chaotic type of thinking together, the overrun of boundaries. And I'm going to have on with me next week my pastor. I'm going to have Pastor McManus on, James A. McManus on Word of God Ministries. Going to have him on. He and I had this interesting conversation about boundaries. Yeah, we were talking about boundaries. And he has some insight I really want him to share with us about boundaries. I'm talking about geographical boundaries. There are all types of boundaries, yes, but geographical boundaries. And how when you don't respect the boundaries, you are allowing things into your space that you may not want there. Going to have more next week. Going to talk about that. But again, I'm telling you, word to illegal alien lovers. Word to illegal alien lovers. Anyone who has to sneak into our country is up to no good. You remember that. And anyone who is coming here and does not want to assimilate should not be allowed to participate. I'm CL. We're going to return in just a minute.
One, two, 1, 2, 3.
Now on Saturday, tomorrow, DJT will be in Orlando, Florida. Started to make the trip, but I said, no, I need a weekend. I'm going to be on the road a lot this summer, this spring and summer. I'm going to be on the road a lot. And I just want to, I need to rest because I'll tell you what, I'm so, too often I'm just run absolutely down. And I'm just about over this cold that I had. But I tell you what, I have run into all kinds of people. They've been shutting down schools in some areas because of the flu. It is rampant. Even though sometimes when you associate with flu, you think about cold weather. Well, I guess it's the ups and downs that the weather has brought to us that's maybe causing this. I don't know. I just know the flu bug is everywhere. And I can tell you something else is going to be everywhere if we don't get some real cold here pretty soon, and that's mosquitoes. They'll be everywhere. Now, I was saying that DJT, Donald J. Trump, President Donald J. Trump, is going to be in Orlando, Florida this weekend. And people are saying, well, why, what's he doing? Campaigning? He's still campaigning? No. I said yesterday on yesterday's show that he promised to be the people's president. I hear people saying this is not the way things are usually done. Exactly right. He promised to be the people's president. And we can't seem to stand the fact that he's wanting to do that. Be the people's president. We can't seem to stand the fact that he's wanting to do this. It's not business as usual. Isn't that what you wanted? Isn't that what you wanted change? You know what? Obama was elected because he offered America hope and change. But what did you get? You got the same old thing. And it took us nowhere. You got the same old thing twice. You voted that in twice. You got something that was harmful to us the first 4 years, and then you turned around and voted for it again. Why? Well, you know, I've told you why. If Obama's skin had not been black, or at least of color, if Obama's skin had not been of color, there is no way he would have been elected twice. In fact, if his skin had not been of color, he would not have been elected the first time. And you know what? Hillary would have been president. So Hillary, if you want to blame somebody for you not having your shot at president, blame Barack Obama. In fact, you can blame him twice. You can blame him the first time you ran, and you can blame him the second time you ran. The first time, the person of color beat the Clinton. The second time you ran, Hillary, it was the Obama's policies that beat the Clintons. And he did everything he could to beg people, hey, if you don't vote for her, you'll be letting me down. He actually said those words. You'll be destroying my legacy. Those were his words. And guess what? If he was right about anything, he's right about that. By not electing Hillary Clinton, there is an active move not to destroy a legacy that meant something to America, but to tear something down that was so harmful. And that was the rampant spending that Obamacare has caused in this country. Yes, there will be an adequate replacement. There will be, something that will be much better than Obamacare. And hey, yeah, what is it, you may ask me? Well, we've only had 4 weeks to actually work on it, and we are working on it. We've only had 4 weeks. We're making inroads to bringing it about, and we're right now securing the idea that those who are on Obamacare, once we are able to get rid of it, repeal it, and replace it, that those who have Obamacare will not be left out in the cold. We've only had 4 weeks. So please give us a little more time to fix this, because they had 8 years to mess this up bad. Yes, George W. Bush messed up too, but he had his hands full trying to keep terrorists from knocking down our buildings. I don't know what he was thinking toward the last 2 years of his presidency, but Barack Obama had 8 years to really mess this up even further. It's going to take us a little bit to actually straighten this out. I'll be back in just a minute. Yeah, don't you remember? Don't you remember? Yeah, I go back that far. I remember 1966. Yeah, I was 11 years old. I was 11 years old in 1966. I don't mind. I look good for my I look good for my age. I do. Everybody tells me that. I've got my friends, sometimes they're paid to lie to you, but I think I do. Look good for 61-year-old fella here in March. Good Lord, let me live to March. I'll be 61 years old. Feel good. Look good. Planning on living 61 more. Why not? I want to see what's going to happen. I don't know about you, but I want to see what's going to happen. To all my friends out there who are becoming mature, they want to call you elderly. They want to put you on the porch to rock. Don't do it. You find something to do. You find something to give you a new lease on life and live. You hear me? Don't you go sit down nowhere. You find something to do. You find somewhere to go, and you find something to get involved in and live. Because we got to hang around here to see what's going to happen and to stop the bad stuff from happening, because right now it looks like it is up to us. So you make up your mind to throw off all of the granny stuff, all the grandpa stuff. Throw it off. Throw it off. And I'm not talking about being crazy or anything like that. Don't go get a Ferrari or, anything crazy, or a Corvette or anything. Don't do nothing crazy. But all you grandparents out there, all you folks over 50 out there, even you folks who are 40 and 45, you better start thinking about it, because you're going to wake up one morning and you're going to be right where I am right now. And you're going to say to yourself, man, that went by fast. Jay, you better hear what I'm saying, because I know you're young. Jay's young enough to be my grandson. He is young enough to be my grandson. But I'm going to tell you something. Jay, one thing I have learned, it is profound truth. I'm going to share it with you right now. Life goes by so fast. It goes by fast, brother. So, and when you get to where, hey, live it. Don't be crazy. Don't be foolish. Live it and raise them girls. Because before you know it, you're going to have grandchildren of your own.
Oh, man. Don't make me nervous, CL. Don't do that.
Let them boys know when they come in there where that shotgun is. Tell them, don't forget what that is. And so, but yeah, folks, having a little fun here on the weekend show. I'm CL, and yes, DJT is going to be in Tampa, not in Tampa, Orlando, Florida, right down the road there on tomorrow. And I have a feeling what he is doing, he's taking his case to the people. That's what he's doing. I'm certain that's what he's going to do. He's taking his case to the people. Talked to you about that yesterday, and I wanted to reiterate that today. He needs to take his case to the people. It was the American people. And I don't care who says, well, Hillary won the popular vote by 3 million votes. Just those illegals in California. The ones I was telling you about that have the illegal driver's license, that have the illegal green cards, that are in the country illegally, just them alone could represent that many illegal votes. And no, those votes would not be indicated anywhere. They wouldn't be documented anywhere. Do you know why? Because the driver's license are illegal, but yet they can go to the voting precinct, go to the registrar's office, voter registrar's office, use that fake driver's license, and actually get a voter registration and actually register the vote. And people, when they talk about Trump saying things like that he has no basis in fact in, that California senator gave him basis in fact when he said half of his family was in this country illegally. Trump, you need to talk to the country. You need to take your case to the country. Mr. President, you do need to take your case to the country. We're listening. We're wanting to hear you. We are wanting you to succeed, even many of those. Now, you have your diehard liberals who make a living at CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, and CBS, who really make their living saying crazy stuff about you wanting to fail. But you know what I found out talking to them in private? They want to see change too. But they want to continue getting their paycheck. So they're going to talk crazy. They know doggone well that the Russians did not influence the presidential election. They know that. They know that there is nothing wrong with Ivanka's line of clothing, shoes, and what have you being in Nordstrom's. But because they want to continue getting their paycheck, they're saying it. And see, that type of mentality is exactly the thing that I have a problem with people who are also in the church, who know better about certain topics that we'll talk about on the other side of the break. Don't go. I'm CL. CL, home stretch of the CL Bryant Show. On the weekend, on the weekend. And I was saying something that I don't want you to miss. Part of the problem as far as political correctness is concerned does not just permeate throughout the secular world. No, it doesn't. You see, even though I know, and this is what the president knows too. This is what DJT knows. It's what the president knows. He knows that it was evangelicals like Franklin Graham, like the pastor of Jeffrey Falwell. It was Pastor Jeffers, First Baptist Dallas, who threw in behind him and brought with them the quote-unquote evangelical vote, the Christian vote. He's very much aware of that because he was doing something, a candidacy. He was running a candidacy that was politically incorrect. And in order to wage that type of campaign, he needed people who understood the evil of political incorrectness, the evil of political correctness. He needed people who understood that. And there is no one, there aren't any people in this country who understand that better than people who embrace the doctrines of Jesus Christ, the church. But that doesn't speak for all of the church. Because you see, there are some who embrace Judeo-Christian doctrines in their speech on Sundays, who vote differently than that on Tuesdays or Saturdays when the votes are taken. They talk a good game. But when it comes down to the rubber meeting the road, as the rubber need to meet the road now, in making certain that we continue to embrace and hold on to our core values, they vote against that. And they vote against the one person that has promised to secure our religious liberty. How can you be against that guy? Whether you are a Muslim, a Jew, or a Christian. Because when he's talking about it from a constitutional standpoint, which means that a Jew does not have to bake a cake for a Muslim. No gay organization is going to be, and yeah, believe me, that's religion. That agenda is religion. So is climate change, for that matter. That's religion. No Christian baker is going to be forced by the state, by the government, to do something against their conscience that would violate their religious freedom and conscience. How come we can't support that guy? When I started off the show, I pointed out one of the reasons why. It's hypocrisy. Having the cake and eating it too. You can't sit there as a pretty cake without being enjoyed. And in order to enjoy the cake, you got to cut into it. Having it and eating it, two different things. We have the blessings of liberty. But in order to have that blessing of liberty inside of us, you got to scramble some eggs. Eggs are good to look at, I guess. Juggle, whatever. They're good to have. But in order to enjoy them, you got to scramble them. You got to crack some eggs in order to eat them. In order to get back to where we need to be, some of these eggs we've been looking at, some of these eggs in this basket that have been presented in the form of political correctness have got to be cracked. And we have to season it once again with the seasoning of our founding documents. That's how we become great again. That's how we become strong again, safe again. That's what's going on now. And cracked open eggs ain't pretty, but they are very nourishing if prepared properly. I'm CL. Be right back. This is going to be a theme for a while. I have a feeling I've talked about it, mentioned it for the last 2 days. We ask for the wrecking ball. We ask for something to change. And that's what we got. Have we forgotten that when we bring in the wrecking ball, it creates rubble? And in thinking about it that way, you have to be prepared. Once you clear the rubble, after the wrecking ball has done its job, then you have to bring in the people to clear the rubble out before you rebuild. Are you hearing me? We ask for this. We needed it. And now that we have it, don't you get cold feet. But you be prepared to help us clear the rubble. Because the rubble is going to have to be cleared out in order for us to rebuild this in the way it should be rebuilt. It was necessary. And hey, it shakes the ground sometimes. It creates dust in the American air. And that's what we're seeing right now. The ground in America is being shaken because the wrecking ball is swinging and it is making contact. It is raising dust in this country. And it is going to create rubble. We're strong enough to take it. We're American enough to bear it. And we will go on from here. Why? Because we are Americans. We've survived much worse. And we've had much better. And we will, if God holds our hand and orders our steps, we will be great again. Well, I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day. And I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our minds. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL, and may God bless and keep you all.
To keep freedom alive, and to the families left behind, we'll stand by your side, and the bond will never be torn.